For a good amount of time, I have been waiting for a new anime to just take me to Nirvana like the great My Hero Academia has when it originally started. An anime to just give me a breath of fresh air from the mediocre material that you see coming and already know how things will play out just by the second episode. This brings me to the recommendation for many of you for an anime known as Megalo Box. Now, this is an anime that is the second Boston anime I am aware of when put next to Hajime no Ippo. Now, I never really watched animes that are in relations to boxing except for Baki the Grappler, but that is more based on a variety of different fighting styles actually. Despite never watching Hajime no Ippo myself, which eventually I will get there at some point in my life, I still had interest when I saw the cover of Megalo Box on Crunchyroll when I was just trying to find some new show just to get into it. From the very cover, the art style already provides you with the information. It brings homage to the handwritten old school anime style that we once knew back then with such movies as Princess no Mononoke or even sort of Ponyo in some sort of aspect, maybe even related to Akira. While at the same time, it blends together well with the modernization of current animes that we do have. For some reason, the return of Berserk couldn't even do this with their new style. They went a whole different route with what they should have went with. But now as I jump into the plot of Megalo Box, there will be no spoilers of any such, just due to the fact that I don't want anybody to be spoiled. I want this to go into clear thoughts, and it will just be a quick summary of what the plot is. Megalo Box is a sport anime that takes place in a futuristic setting and its own spin on more. Because this takes place in the future, the style of boxing has come to where boxers wear technology, which is where our main character Joe comes in, who is a promising fighter with great potential and really does have high hopes. He is the underdog, which isn't something new in animes, don't get me wrong, but how the show handles this makes him more interesting than most. Unlike other fighters in the show, Joe is the only one not applying this technology, and this does give him a tremendous handicap. And this is him calling back to the boxing that we know before this even time period that it takes place in. But others apparently have forgotten about this style, looking on ahead into the future. This already gives him an immediate handicap, do not get me wrong, because this does put him at a great disadvantage with those that do have a certain different technology on them. In a way, this can be applied to how past animes seem forgotten, being replaced by new animes that have great sleek animation, but fails in plots. But hey, I'm no anime specialist. The retro feel of the show is a breath of fresh air, and while the plot is interesting in itself, holy shit, the music in the show is fantastic by a tenfold with the overlinking tone that's going throughout the show. I mean, I'm even using one of my favorite songs from the show in this video. The opening is a fun, edgy rock and roll song that fits the tone exactly, while visually it is also well made opening, and the outro, which is by far one of my favorite outros all time when it comes to an anime. It is upbeat, fun, and a mellow song, which is called Karikario by Nakamura Imi. Now, unfortunately, this show is only 13 episodes long, so the journey wasn't near as long as I think it could have been, as well as how it should have been. Despite this, for a good amount of the series, the pacing never necessarily bothered me until the last 2 to 3 episodes. From a viewing point, this show can easily have better animation like most current animes, but it's not doing that actually helps the show in a surprising format and way actually. The reason for this fits the tone of the show tremendously with the fact of this junkyard dog character. His message that I believe, in my opinion, the message that he's perceiving is that he is the genuine article, which I believe that is what the show is giving as well to the audience, and showing that there's nothing wrong with going back to the basic animation fashion that we once known and loved, and that led to the fact that we even have some of the animes that we have to this day. A good majority of the animes that we do have nowadays, especially because the creators are inspired by these past shows. It just shows a full-on circle on how everything spins around, just how every single anime in some sort of format does play homage, and I think Megalo Box does that in a tremendous way, because in the end, fashion goes around in a circle. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the video. It is a different take on videos than what I usually do. It will be something I will do every now and then, just with certain animes or TV shows or cartoons or even movies, just certain subjects. I do eventually, and I know I mentioned it way back when in one of my videos, that I plan on basically doing what makes a good villain. I mean, who knows, really, even stuff probably may even have interest in talking about this whole monsterverse that's a thing, especially because the excitement I have for the new Godzilla movie. But I digress. Hope you guys really enjoyed. As always, do like if you dare, subscribe if you care. And one other thing I do want to actually mention, I do want you guys to take the liberty of subscribing to another YouTube channel known as Jazzy and Shadows Cartoon Podcast, and it's these two brothers that are gonna do podcasts talking about cartoons such as Young Justice and other old school cartoons from back then and from in our youth and everything. And I have interest in that personally because I do talk about animes and all the cartoons. I haven't really talked about any cartoons that much except for really Young Justice, but I do have a lot of great cartoons in my mind that I would like to actually talk to you guys about, even just review in general, just from what I'm feeling. And when it comes to nostalgia, it does bring me back to the times I used to watch Cartoon Networks, and I do go back to watch those cartoons in general actually to this day. So eventually they will be posting videos and releasing videos of them talking about these cartoons. If you guys have interest in those type of cartoons and that type of podcast in general in itself, even if you do like podcasts, I do say take the interest of subscribing to their subscription, and actually, who knows, I may be in there one day as well. But guys, do take the liberty of that, and as always, like if you dare, subscribe if you care. And key in for Miles.